Hello everybody. So this video is entitled Peak Fear Dominates because we had some bad news coming from the Fed, technically the BLS, but they kind of walk all in hand together, and they conveniently delayed the release of the jobs data, which is now going to be released, the November jobs data, which is now going to be released December 16. It's a very convenient delay if you're trying not to give anybody a rate cut in December like the market was expecting. And so, of course, we know we're going to have a dovish Mr. Dove that's going to be nominated by Trump in May 2026, which, as you know on this channel, I've lost complete hope for the Fed for years now. I'm done expecting rate cuts at this point. This is political more than anything. But anyways, conveniently, the BLS is delaying the data to December 16, right after the FOMC meeting, which means that now the odds of getting a rate cut are down. Only 32% of people think we're going to get a rate cut. Now 66% think no rate cut. And in the CME Fed Watch tool, 64% think we're going to get no rate cut. So the market is freaking out because the market had been pricing a rate cut. We need a rate cut really, really, really bad. But of course, you are removing the license to cut from the Fed by withholding the jobs data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Like I said, it's very convenient. That's all I'm going to say. It's very convenient. Let's dump the market even more. Let's hurt 2025. Anyways, I'm not going to go there, but it's absolutely insane to me. Absolutely insane. So the peak fear is here, and that fear, unfortunately, was warranted and is still warranted because nobody expected this awful news. Nobody expected that. At least I didn't. So that fear was warranted by the market, I suppose. CNN Fear and Greed Index is at 11. Yesterday it was at 9, so I guess a little better, barely. And if you look at the crypto market cap, crypto fear index, we are at a 16, so we are still lower than FTX, or at the same level as FTX. Yesterday we were at 15, today we're at 16, so we are at the same level of fear as FTX. And of course, to add to the fear of the day, we have a release of the minutes. Yes, they release minutes 2 weeks later, like we are still in the 1930s writing minutes. You have minutes that are being released. And so we're going to know what was discussed 2 weeks ago at the FOMC meeting, and we're going to know what they were thinking about whether they would give us a rate cut or not. The cost of money is entirely manipulated. The denominator is entirely manipulated. The market is struggling because of the high cost of money, and it's based on this dogma of inflation needing to be created, inflation being a pseudo thing, a random pick that inflation should be 2%, while we know as growth investors, we know that the bigger story is deflation. But, the system is just the way it is. I'm not going to go there. I'm sorry about that. Let me just talk about Bitcoin now. Unfortunately, Bitcoin is not responding well to the news, of course. It broke 89. We're at 88,900 as I record this. And of course, the Bitcoin proxies are taking a dump again. Strategy lost more than its gains from yesterday. And of course, strategy is going to lose because Bitcoin hit a new, what is it, like a 7-month low now. We're at a 7-month low. So strategy is not going to be doing well if Bitcoin's not doing well. And here's, of course, a more striking example of Stretch. Stretch is not working anymore. Stretch cannot work. The Stretch preferred cannot work if we're not going to drop the rates. If we're not dropping the rates in December, that means Saylor has to likely increase Stretch dividend by 50 basis points, maybe even 75 basis points. So this is short short-term pain until the true liberation day, as far as I'm concerned, which will be May 2026, when we're going to have a dovish Fed chair. And is that dovish Fed chair going to drop 100 points at the next meeting? Something like that. I mean, of course, it's a committee decision, but the chair as an outsized influence on a committee decision, my guess is that we're going to get relief in May 2026. We're going to do everything to hurt the marketplace until May 2026. That's been my working hypothesis for more than a year now. So anyways, the market now is caught up in this idea that NVIDIA is in a bubble, that NVIDIA is too expensive. They see the price sticker tag, 4.5 trillion, and they freak out, not noticing that Walmart or Costco are actually trading more expensively than NVIDIA. And so I wonder what the stock market drop is going to do to the American consumer this Christmas season. My guess is that people are not going to spend that much money this Christmas season, if you ask me, because investors have had no Christmas. Anyways, the big question is, will the NVIDIA earnings be good? I think so. I think they'll be good. If you look at the past earnings, all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all 6, I suppose, all 6 past earnings beat. They were a beat for all 6 past earnings. They were a beat. But that doesn't mean the market reacts well to a beat. In fact, I asked AI for this. So you can see the last earnings Q2, we essentially had zero reaction, flat, right? Minus 0.88, so flat, nothing to read about that. In May 2025, we had plus 41%. Think about that, plus 41%. Okay. In November, minus 20%. In August, we had plus 2%. So if you average it out, average next day stock price change for NVIDIA is plus 5%. And of course, this calculation brought to you in 1 second by Grok, right? Grok running on NVIDIA GPUs, bringing this to you, answering my question, what's the average pop? AI is very real. It's very real. But, the market is so fickle right now. It's almost as if earnings don't matter. And we saw many stocks that I follow who had absolutely great earnings. The stocks pop and they come right back down because it's all about the macro and it's all about the cost of the money. I can think of HIMS. I can think of Zeta, for example, just to name a few stocks who had outstanding earnings, and then boom, the stock dumps. Just a few. Core Medics, right, is another one. So the market barely pays attention to that, and so it seems like a lot of the pricing of these stocks has more to do with the cost of the Denominator and the Fed, and what the market thinks about committee members and how committee members will think about potentially flawed information from the BLS. This is the market that we've lived through since the year 2020. We've been in a Fed, associated or Fed correlated market, and the market has moved much more based on the moves of the Fed than it has moved based on the earnings, and so that's very unfortunate. Hopefully they beat, but beating is not what's going to help. It's the reaction of the market that matters, right? And hopefully the market reaction to whatever report they have is a good one, right? I'd rather see them miss and see the market react positively to a miss, and this market is so crazy right now that it's something that could happen, honestly. Anyways, this was not investment advice. This is not financial advice ever on this channel, obviously, with this madness, Entertainment only. Entertainment only. Please like, please subscribe, follow me on Patreon, follow me on X. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.